one website where I submitted over 20,000 submissions, basically, of news and stuff. Basically decided, well, we don't make enough profit from the site, and they just shut down. And then all my work, which I spent years on, actually all the things that I've submitted, basically gone. I couldn't even download copies of that locally. So that just shows you all sites will disappear one day. There is no exception. I mean, just like all companies disappear at some stage, we don't have companies that have existed for, 1,000 years. So maybe very few do. But all the websites will at some stage disappear, and you will not have your data, not even on your hard drive, unless you have some option for saving that sort of stuff. But the worst situation is when something happens when you're not prepared. So maybe you have your document in some account. Maybe even Ubuntu One can be subjected to all the same treatments. By the way, in terms of precedents, all kinds of image bays and places where you could file any places any site that stores files. I could even open an account in Facebook and then upload as my avatar. I could put some binary data there and say, well, this is some data, and then open like 100 accounts and use them as storage. And with the storage, what's it going to be? I don't know, an MP3 file, maybe copyright infringement. Should we shut down Facebook because I can do that? Some people do this with tiny URL. They use the URLs as data, and they just made lots and lots and lots of tiny URLs to use it as a storage place, to use it as a storage place in binary form. It's always possible, and any data you can store to a database somewhere. It can be anything.
It wasn't a worry for me, to be fair. Up until recently, all my data, in inverted commas, is basically my website, my WordPress blog, and that's 2 years or 3 years nearly of a lot of hard work. And whilst I choose to share it, if somebody came along tomorrow and said, Goblin of OpenBytes is infringing on my copyright, if WordPress employed the hot file ethos, it would seem that my account would just be deleted, and that would be the loss of 2 years worth of work.
You can make backups though.
Oh yeah, certainly, but you wouldn't be expecting.
Based on that, you can export all your data, and then you can create your own website.
Yeah,
as a clone of the same.
Sure, but you don't expect it. I mean, you wouldn't expect no chance of appeal or a right to defend yourself. You would expect that. You wouldn't just expect somebody to come along and delete your data. Now, I'm not saying that what Hotfile's doing is wrong, or I'm not saying what they're doing is right, and we don't know all the accounts that they've deleted, but I think the method that they're going about doing it is rather wrong, and giving people an opportunity to voice their innocence. And
it's a matter of scalability. Have you heard about the defense that Google has for YouTube? I wish I had the correct numbers now, and I can only give you estimates, but the number of minutes downloaded, well, minutes or seconds or hours uploaded per the same number of units. So how many? You can ask a question like, how many hours of videos how many hours are being uploaded per hour? Okay, so how much is being streamed? And I think the ratio is something like, I'm just kind of guessing here, it's like 1,000 to 1. So if you had 1,000 people, just imagine a whole, like call centers, complete buildings, people watching it in real time as it's being uploaded. Yes, 1,000 people watching all the time, watching videos. That's what the type of army you need just for new content. Not even in checking flags on videos, but actually just checking new content. And then how do these people know if it's a copyright infringement? How do they know it's not fair use? How do you know if they didn't ask for permission from the original authors? They have no way of knowing. It's all just complete guesses. The way they operate now, it's with DMCAs, which basically means when a person claims that I can claim on your video, which maybe doesn't contain anything from me, I'm just lying about it. It's called bogus DMCA. I can take down your video because they're too afraid of me filing a lawsuit or claiming something. And this is what happens in YouTube as means of censorship now. And lots of videos are extremely scared, and they have these huge debates about how Google handles these things, because people who might be having a debate between different operating system or things to do with religions or politics, they tear down the opponent's videos, and they then expose their personal details like addresses and stuff. They have to do that. But then if the other person wants to challenge you back, in some cases the person wants to be anonymous for good reasons, for safety or for, things like safety at work, the other person has to reveal his or her details back, I think, because of the way the procedure is being done. And then the DMCA is also being used to unmask people. And that's the even worse thing. When a person wants to post something anonymously, and then you have this trick of saying, I'll take down your video, and if you want it back on, you have to expose who you are. So this is a really disturbing situation, and this is why you need some kind of reforms around copyrights with things online to maybe make these things completely impractical to do, or to make the lawsuits as sad as it is if a person you believe to be infringing on your copyrights, to make it more reasonable, or to actually accept that, well, we cannot police every piece of content on the internet. It's impractical, it's expensive, it's ruining all kinds of startups which want to allow you to stream music or to download music legally. ISPs become more expensive because they have to do monitoring now and store stuff like that.
Well, just staying on that subject very briefly, we've also now got reports of Usenet being targeted as the latest in the evil piracy venues, as it were. There's been some Usenet tracker sites or indexing sites that have been closed down, although, and this is by Breen, and I hope I'm saying that right, although they won't announce which ones that they shut. I haven't got any details on that at the moment, but I remember saying a couple of years back that once they'd used up the excuse of, we're targeting BitTorrent because users are sharing it with thousands of other users, they would move on to Usenet. Obviously, they surely have started. I think midway through last year, they started looking at Usenet, and now
they use the perfect reasons. I think both. Okay, in Usenet, I think they use the child porn card. I don't think they use the terrorism card, because I think it's really hard to justify the terrorists going to Usenet and creating news groups to plan the terrorist activities. But they will try to justify people swapping all kinds of child porn. Whatever.
You see, Usenet poses a big problem for the speculative invoicing scam, because, of course, I'm sure most of 90% of the listeners already know this, but there's no active sharing involved in Usenet at all. The excuse that you hear from many people who attack the BitTorrent community or send out these speculative invoicing letters argue that the person who's sharing the file or receiving the file is also sharing it out. Now, for these people, Usenet poses a very big problem, because with Usenet, you're just taking it off a server. So you're not sharing it with anybody unless you upload it, but that's different. So it poses, they can't put the same type of propaganda onto Usenet as they can BitTorrent. And of course, as Roy says, there's all sorts of allegations made about Usenet. But then these type of allegations can be thrown at the net as a whole about browsing web pages. Web pages can be used for exactly the same purpose, and are. So should we just stop the entire internet and shut everything down, and let's go back to playing software off a tape recorder and having dial-up modems? It's rather hypocritical and rather silly.
The same companies that control, basically, it's new media versus old media. Mostly things which are enabled by the internet versus things which aren't enabled by the internet. So the companies which work against net neutrality, or sharing of music files, or sharing of articles, things to do with paywalls and open access and things like that, it's usually the same companies, and companies that actually give you access to content in terms of hypermedia, or it can be things like text, and it can be things like ebooks and whatever. So these companies tend to have lots of hands and lots of different things at the same time, and all of them are being targeted by the internet because they have disruptions. They have companies which are enabled by new technology now, and what they do now is they go after your sharing of films or whatever, or music on the internet. At the same time, if they can shut down things like hypertext interchange and try to cripple news sites based on the fact that they might be infringing in terms of text. And one thing people don't talk about is the fact that I can save an article to my hard drive and I can share it with a friend, or I can email a story to my friend with putting it inside an email. And nobody says, well, you should go after these people because they're setting articles without the ads and without everything else. That's text, which as opposed to sound, just contains less information. Let's say, I suppose that the entropy is smaller, but what it's actually, the copyright is the copyright, whether it applies